Nature Patch. My name is Robyn and thank you so much for joining in on another video. Today I've got a little bit of a different video. I'm actually about over 1,000 kilometres north of Brisbane, where I usually film these videos. I'm currently up in the Whitsundays at my parents' place, and I thought I would give a little bit of a tour of basically what it looks like up here and how we can garden up here. It's technically a bit more of a dry tropical climate, so as you can see behind me, it is quite dry at the moment, and there's a few different plants that we definitely can't grow up here. So Scott and I are up here for a week or so, and we've helped out a little bit around the garden, so I thought I would share with you kind of just a bit of the progress that we've made on the garden, and also just give a little bit of a tour of what a dry tropical garden can look like, just some of the plants that you might be able to grow in this environment. We pretty much don't get rain here at all in September. It's just gone October now, and November is usually when the rain and the monsoon kind of starts, and it starts to get a lot greener around here. So we're going to be planting some native trees today. There are a few natives that I really love, and I want to share with you what they look like. But first I will head down to the veggie patch that we were working in the other day and share with you what that looks like. But again, before that, I think I might need a cup of tea to bring with me because I kind of need to keep that tradition going. Alright, so I have my cup of tea now. I'm all ready to go to do a garden tour. Scott is going to be watering the garden while I give you a little bit of a run through of what we've done here. So around in this area here was pretty much bare soil. It didn't have anything around, so my dad built a really awesome little enclosure here. We have a lot of kangaroos, wallabies, you name it, we've got it here. And they will pretty much annihilate anything that we plant. So Dad built this little enclosure with just recycled poly pipe that he had around the house, and some netting, and all of the timber, or most of the timber, was also recycled from bits of projects that he had around the house as well. And all of these pipes, just to give a little bit of stability, was also from the garage, just using up things that we had around the house. And this provides a little bit of shade. We're going to be putting another layer on the top just to give a little bit more protection from the sun, and it also just protects from all the animals around as well. So I should mention this massive thing behind me, we're on tank water here, so pretty much on like a half off-grid situation here where you need to have your own water and your own gas. So we have a lot of water tanks around, but apart from the veggie patch, all of the other plants that they try and plant in this garden is really plants that just are adapted to this area so that we don't have to waste water from all of the 3 tanks that we have here. So getting back to the garden tour, this is what we planted in here a few days ago. So up the back here we've got just a native little tree that has some little white flowers on it. I bought my parents a finger lime. I've wanted one of these for a while, but this is a native Australian lime tree. This is what the limes look like. They're really pretty, and they kind of have like little tubes that come out. So this is a really pretty plant. It's quite spiky, but it will grow up and give some shade to this area. It's pretty early in the morning right now, but this area does get some sun in a few hours. And then we just planted some okra down here because this grows really well in warm climates. So we planted 3 of the red okra here. Kind of gave Mum quite a few seeds last time. And then just to give some flowers and some beneficial bugs to come in, we've planted a few marigolds here as well, just around the corner, and some more marigolds here, and a nice big rosemary that should bush up in that area here. So the plan is eventually to extend out here. We won't be here for that, but maybe next time I'll give an update on how that's going. And then in the tunnel here, where Dad's just about to put on a door, but in here we've tried to transplant some cucumbers, what we think are cucumbers. They just kind of came out of the compost, and they're actually going okay this morning. We've got 2 here, except this one, which I might have to give a bit of a trim back, but we'll see how he goes. A few more marigolds, and then most of this is just plants from the compost bin. So all of these plants here are all little capsicums that have popped up, and we've just transplanted these in here because these grow really well in warm, really hot climates. So they should like it here. And then just a random spinach that isn't doing too well. And then on the other side is where all the tomatoes are going to go. So these don't particularly like being in heat that is over, say, 26 degrees, which that definitely is the case here. So that's why we're going to be putting on another shade cloth over this area just to give the tomatoes a little bit more shade. We've also put a row of basil down this line. And basil grows really well with tomato. It kind of plays between some of the pests that come with tomatoes. Same with marigolds here. So we've tried to split up kind of blocks of tomatoes with flowers, another block of tomatoes, flowers, then we'll do another block of tomatoes there. And then what we can do is actually tie up some tomatoes with a string to the top here and just have a string coming down to support them. So I think this will be really nice when it's all finished and got a lot of nice veggies in there. We've also got the compost bin here. And yeah, hopefully the plan is that kind of grows a little bit of a hedge up here with the plants, and then provides a little bit more shade to this as well when these okra trees grow up. You can see how dry it is at the moment up in the bush back there. We're having a few burn-offs at the moment where we're having some firefighters come in and do back burning just to prepare for summer and to keep the grass down, but it is definitely a very dry time of the year. So I'm going to enjoy my cup of tea, help Scott out with the watering because he's kind of doing that by himself right now, and then I'll give you a little bit more of a tour of some of the other natives that we've got around in the garden. My parents have just kind of moved back to this house. We had it for a holiday house for quite a few years, and now they've moved back here and are really just kind of getting stuck into doing some gardening and trying to get a bit more of established trees going, and different bushes. With the goal is mainly to provide habitat for birds, and to give some food for the pollinators and different bird species. So hopefully we get to see some really pretty Australian birds as well. And after that I may take you down to the beach and show you what the beach looks like as well. It is a really pretty part of Australia. If you're ever up in Northern Australia, I would definitely recommend checking out the Whitsundays if you can. So this is a little bit of an overview of the garden. It's definitely, as you can see, quite dry at the moment, but I'll go around and I'll show you a few interesting plants and ones that we're going to be planting today. So all up of this area is going to be filled in with like a little rockery kind of area where a lot of succulents are going to come down here. We'll have an acacia tree up the back here and fill all of this up with nice succulents and plants that the birds like. And then down here is a lot of native trees are planted down here. I used to have a really beautiful pink euodia tree here, but it got destroyed by one of the cyclones. Lots of succulents and kind of desert loving species. All of these acacia seed pods have just started popping out. You can see the little red seeds in there. Pretty funky. And these kinds of grevilleas are perfect for the birds around here. One of the keys to gardening in really dry kind of tropical climates, because it gets so hot here and we get really sunny days, it's really key to have a lot of shade trees around in the garden. So around in this garden space here, you can kind of start to see Mum has put in a lot of shade trees that have all lost their leaves right now because it's the driest time of the year. So it's definitely not the best time to be showing you and giving you a garden kind of overview. But these trees are really vital for anything that you want to grow as an understory. You definitely need some kind of shade trees in this climate to protect a lot of the undergrowth as well. Growing in full sun here is not the best way to do it, so you really need those shade trees around in the garden. So while it might look a little messy, it's definitely all got purpose to it. Another thing that's really important to note is that, like I mentioned before, we get a lot of cyclones here. So just previously in the last few years, they had a Category 4, Category 5 cyclone, which is the highest category of cyclone that there is, that hit right over this area and pretty much decimated a lot of the houses and all of the trees that we had here as well. So cyclones is another thing that you really need to think about when you're living in a dry tropical climate such as up here. Planting trees is great, but often they can just be blown over in different cyclonic events, such as a few that we've had here. So that's just, yeah, another one of the challenges to growing in an environment like this. It's a beautiful place, but has a lot of other challenges, and yeah, you really need to change the style of gardening. I can't grow how I would grow down in Brisbane up here. I really have to change the species and the plants that I like to grow to suit this environment. Otherwise, yeah, you're just not very successful. So I think we're going to go head in and have some breakfast and then plant a few trees, and I'll show you the ones that we plant, but then I'll wrap this video up. I really hope you enjoyed seeing what a dry tropical climate looks like. Definitely not quite on the tropical side right now. It's a really dry time of the year, but it is really interesting to see how plants kind of adapt and change in this climate here. Definitely a lot of the trees have lost their leaves right now, and they're just waiting for that summer rain to come through so that they can kind of start their growth season again. It's definitely a beautiful place of the world, and I would highly recommend heading up to the Whitsundays if you ever get the chance. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely day wherever you are in the world. I hope you enjoyed the last few shots of the garden, and until my next video, happy gardening. Bye.